All right, let's dive right into this explainer and see if we can unravel the 600-year-old mystery of the Voynich Manuscript. If you're into historical puzzles, you know this one well. Today, we're putting it under three completely different lenses: its physical origins in the margins, historical cryptographic methods, and a massive modern data perspective that might actually upend everything we thought we knew.
So let's start with a really provocative thought, one that challenges a century of intense academic study. What if the text that has baffled codebreakers, linguists, and computer scientists for hundreds of years isn't actually a language at all? What if it's just a brilliant mechanical illusion?
To understand the weight of that question, we just have to look at the manuscript's legacy. Carbon dated to the early 15th century, it's a codex of about 240 vellum pages filled with bizarre plants, astrological diagrams, and these looping, consistent characters. It survived centuries of scrutiny, and every single translation attempt has completely collapsed. So, any new claim of a solution? Yeah, we definitely need to approach that with absolute skepticism.
Part 1. Origins in the margins.
To start our detective work, we've got to look at the physical evidence hiding right there in the margins. It's like a giant puzzle. You can actually feel the sheer excitement from researcher Nick Pelling back in 2006. He was at Yale's Voynich Library, shining a UV black lamp on a tiny bit of marginalia at the top of page F17R, basically hunting for invisible history hiding in the parchment.
And wow, under that UV light, a revelation just popped out. We're talking mid-15th century cursive Gothic handwriting that strongly hints at a direct link to the Voynich's text itself. After nearly 20 years of digging, researchers like Pelling argue it's actually written in the Occitan language. It roughly translates to Melhor alucent ben balsamina. That word balsamina is a huge clue here. It's a 15th century term for balsam-like, which points directly to those bizarre botanical illustrations on the page. This is absolutely crucial because it grounds the manuscript in a real time and a very real European place.
Okay, moving on to part 2, the tarot card cipher.
So, if the text isn't just complete gibberish, how exactly was it hidden? Well, science journalist Michael Greshko recently published a fascinating study demonstrating how a historically realistic cipher could actually produce those incredibly unusual statistical patterns we see in the manuscript. Now, he's not claiming to have decoded the whole thing, but he proves that its weird lettering behavior could definitely arise from real, period-accurate mechanisms. He calls it the Nibes cipher.
And here's how this Nibes cipher actually works in practice. It's pretty clever. You take ordinary text, maybe Latin or Italian, chop it up into really short letter groupings, and then you introduce controlled randomness. Back in the 15th century, you could do this just by rolling some dice or pulling from a 78-card Tarocchi deck, basically an early tarot deck. Then you just substitute the groupings using structured tables to generate the Voynich glyphs. What's wild is that this method creates a ciphertext encoding very little plain text per token. That totally explains why the words look so incredibly structured but completely resist traditional frequency analysis.
Which brings us to part 3, the procedural generation twist.
We've looked at linguistic clues and historical ciphers, but now we're dropping a massive data twist that kind of changes the whole shebang. To wrap our heads around this, we need to understand a concept called mutual information. Basically, this measures the statistical memory of a language. Think about it. In any real language, words naturally constrain each other across clauses and sentences. Like, if I say the dog chased the, you immediately know the next word is probably a noun, like cat. That residual dependency, that's the signature of actual meaning persisting through time.
But check out this stark data from a recent independent study. When researchers crunched the mutual information of the Voynich text, they separated it line by physical line. Within a single line, the mutual information is 0.671, which means, okay, there's a strong, rigid structure and how the words are built. But look at the cross-line MI. It is exactly 0.00, literally 0. This means adjacent lines are entirely statistically independent. Each line was generated without any reference to the line before it. No way a real language does that.
This total lack of cross-line memory is an absolute bombshell. No natural language on the planet produces a cross-line dependency of 0. It strongly suggests the text is procedurally generated. It's essentially a mechanical surface just pumping out words, not a system preserving actual meaning. Honestly, it could have easily been created by a simple mechanical rule pulling from 3 basic buckets: a prefix, a base, and a suffix.
Let's test that in part 4, the discrimination test. So, let's put this to the test. Take a look at these words on the screen. Half of them are from the actual 15th century Voynich manuscript.
The other half? We literally just generated them using a tiny piece of code, pulling randomly from a pool of prefixes, bases, and suffixes. Look closely at the rhythm and the structure. Can you spot the fakes?
Well, here's the crazy part. Nobody reliably beats chance on this test, not even the researchers who have stared at this manuscript for decades. That simple three-part generator reproduces 99.6% of the Voynich vocabulary. It completely shatters the idea that these complex word forms must contain deep grammatical meaning.
Part 5. The Indus script control.
But, science requires validation, right? To prove this isn't just some statistical fluke, or that the algorithm doesn't just blindly label every unknown text as procedurally generated, researchers apply the exact same test to the undeciphered Indus Valley script. And as you can see, the contrast is night and day. The Indus script proves to be a discourse-bound language. It actually has high cross-page mutual information, meaning it has memory and preserves semantic meaning across time and space. The Voynich text, it fails this test completely. It's just a mechanical, line-bound surface that completely resets every single time the author's quill moves to a new line.
Which leads us to Part 6, a falsifiable mystery.
This sets up a totally new challenge for future code breakers. Under intense adversarial analysis, the Voynich text contains exactly 105 highly rigid, validated local patterns. At first glance, you might think, oh, that proves it's a complex language. But actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. Natural human writing systems have variance. We make mistakes. We change our rhythms. Producing 105 perfectly consistent patterns is actually way too clean. It's the mathematical inevitability of a table-based generator practically screaming that it's a mechanical creation, not organic human thought.
So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. The gauntlet has officially been thrown down. If someone claims they've translated the Voynich manuscript, can they pass this statistical threshold? Can they produce a translation with a cross-line mutual information greater than 0.1 to prove it's an actual meaning-bearing language? Or are we finally going to have to accept that the world's most mysterious book is, for sure, just a beautiful 600-year-old illusion? Keep questioning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.